I've spent a lifetime in the outdoors, and I thought I knew the mountains better than most. Pine Ridge, tucked deep in the Rockies, was where I took campers every summer. Its high ridges, silent valleys, and crisp alpine air were supposed to be safe, a place to make memories under a sky filled with stars. But one trip in late August still haunts me, a story I don't tell on the tours because no one would ever camp here again if I did. That night, we set up camp by a small lake, its surface reflecting the fading sun like molten gold. The group was small, just 4 college students and me. We built a fire, cooked a simple meal, and as the night fell, the forest came alive with its usual soundtrack of crickets and distant owls. But around midnight, the forest went silent. Not quiet or completely still. I felt it before I heard it, a pressure in the air, like the mountain itself was holding its breath. The flames of the fire flickered, guttered, and then stretched sideways, pulled as though by an invisible draft. One of the students laughed nervously, asking if a storm was coming. I knew it wasn't. A shape emerged beyond the tree line, so faint I thought it was smoke at first. It hovered, wavering, then grew taller. Darker, not a person, not exactly, but something human-shaped. The fire dimmed as if afraid. The students whispered, asking me what it was. I couldn't answer. My instincts screamed to stay still. The figure came closer, its body like mist and shadow, but its face, if you could call it that, glowed faintly, like coal buried under ash. The smell of smoke filled the air, not from our fire, but something older, deeper. One student panicked and threw a burning branch at it. The flames passed right through, but the shadow twisted as if enraged. The sound that came then wasn't a scream or a roar, but a rush of wind, like air sucked from the world. The fire died instantly, plunging us into complete darkness. What happened next is hard to explain. The figure bent down, touched the ground, and where its hand brushed the earth, the soil smoldered, glowing faintly red. Then it rose and moved back toward the forest, vanishing as quickly as it appeared. We relit the fire with shaking hands, but the wood hissed as if wet, smoke choking our eyes. Nobody slept. By dawn, we packed and hiked out, faster than I thought possible. When we looked back from the ridge, the clearing where we had camped was covered in black ash, though we'd left no fire burning. To this day, the memory of that silence, that figure, and the smoldering earth lingers. I still take groups into the mountains, but I never camp at that lake again. And whenever the woods go silent, I tell my campers it's just the wind but inside. I'm listening for that rush of breath, waiting for the shadow to return. The Black Elk Mountains in late fall are a place of raw beauty, endless ridges of pine, fog rolling through the valleys, and the crisp bite of the coming winter. A friend and I decided to spend a weekend camping there, just before the snow would make the trails impassable. We wanted solitude, and we got it, though not in the way we expected. We pitched our tent on a small plateau with a view of the valley below. The air smelled of pine sap and damp earth. After dinner, we sat by the fire, swapping stories until the flames burned low. Around midnight, my friend went to the tent while I stayed to watch the stars. That's when I noticed movement in the tree line. At first, I thought it was a deer, but the figure stood upright, too tall, too still. I shone my flashlight, and for a split second I caught its outline, a man. But something was wrong. His limbs seemed too long, his posture unnatural, like a puppet held by strings. I called out, asking if someone was there. No reply. My friend's voice came from the tent, asking who I was talking to. I turned back and the figure was gone. Only silence. Later, as we tried to sleep, I heard footsteps circling the tent. Slow, deliberate, crushing leaves one at a time. My friend whispered that he heard it too. I grabbed the flashlight and unzipped the tent just enough to peek. Outside, nothing. The fire was nearly out, casting only weak orange embers. But then eyes. 2 faint, reflective glows at the edge of the trees, unblinking. They vanished the moment the beam touched them. We stayed awake till dawn, every rustle making us jump. By morning, we were exhausted, but the forest looked ordinary again. We decided to hike out early. On the trail, though, we found something chilling. All around our campsite, pressed into the damp earth, were footprints. Not boots, not bare feet, something in between. Long, thin, with claw-like impressions at the toes. They circled the tent in perfect silence all night. I've never returned to the Black Elk Mountains in fall. Whatever watched us that night is still out there, waiting for the next campfire to burn low.